Today, I am digging into Chapter 1 of Mark Douglas's book, The Disciplined Trader. My mission today is to uncover why, 90% of traders just fail outright, even when they have access to the exact same sophisticated tools as the pros, the same exact data feeds and software. So we're looking for that hidden psychological edge that makes the top 10% consistently win. To understand this, imagine walking into this massive arena where 90% of the people inside are actively, willingly, just handing their wallets over to the remaining 10%. It's a brutal image, but close to reality. That's the harsh statistical reality of futures trading. It's a zero-sum game. Every dollar gained by a winner is quite literally a dollar lost by someone else. And the sheer fact that 90% of people are just bleeding cash in that arena means there has to be a fundamental flaw in how they approach the market. Most traders think the missing ingredient is just a better technical system or maybe faster news feeds. But the author makes it really clear that the difference between those consistent winners and the losing majority is almost entirely mental discipline. Because it's kind of like assuming that buying, a $5,000 guitar will automatically make you a rock star. You can have the best equipment in the world, but the system is totally useless without the internal skill to actually play it. And the thing is, those internal skills, emotional control, self-discipline, they're not innate traits. People aren't just born with them. They have to learn them. They are highly specialized, learned mental skills. The problem is that most people try to acquire them through trial and error in the live markets, which becomes incredibly expensive. That combination of high stakes and zero mental discipline doesn't just result in a slow leak of funds, it usually ends in a total crash. Capital is just wiped out before the mental lesson even has a chance to click. The author, Mark Douglas, felt this himself. In 1981, he leaves this super successful insurance career and moves to a Gold Coast apartment in Chicago. And he buys a Porsche. Yeah, buys a Porsche, fully expecting to just get rich quick as a trader. Mark was breaking the absolute cardinal rules of the market right from day one. He was trading with capital he literally couldn't afford to lose. Just totally scared money. He put himself under this extreme financial pressure to perform immediately, and the clock ran out fast. Within 8 months, he lost the house, the car, his credit. By March 1982, he was forced to file for bankruptcy, left with basically nothing but a bed and a television. But the fascinating part is that Douglas analyzed this total collapse not just as a financial defeat, but as a forced awareness. He realized his intense, overwhelming fear of losing actually manifested the exact losses he was so desperately trying to avoid. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, but I struggle with that premise a bit, because isn't fear just a biological survival instinct? If I'm standing near a cliff edge, fear keeps me from falling. So how does fear actually hurt you in a trading environment? Because the market acts as a perfect mirror of your internal attitude. When you are terrified of losing, that fear creates what Douglas calls perceptual blinders. It physically alters your perception of reality. So when Douglas was bleeding money, his fear narrowed his focus so tightly that he could only see information validating his panic. So if a trade starts turning against him, that's literally the only data his brain even processes. He systematically excludes any signs of new opportunity. So you might freeze and hold a bad trade way too long, hoping it turns around. Or you panic and exit a winning trade prematurely. You're just reacting to the biological fear in your head, not the actual data on the screen. To succeed, you have to trade without fear by developing this absolute self-trust. But how do you actually do that? How do you just turn off fear when your rent money is literally on the line? Well, it requires a complete psychological shift. Douglas realized that losing his possessions didn't diminish his actual identity. Success began for him when he separated his self-worth from his equity. By giving himself permission to be wrong, he recalibrated his brain's risk assessment center. So a loss was no longer a personal failure or a threat to his survival. It was just neutral market data. And that is the step-by-step personal transformation the book really aims to teach. Because true confidence is simply the absence of fear. When you know exactly what you'll do in any situation, when you have that absolute self-trust, the fear just vanishes. You are not your trades. The 10% know that, and 90% don't. Think back to that massive arena we talked about at the beginning. The only thing separating the winners from the losers is what's happening inside their own heads. Which leaves you with this to ponder. If the market, or really any high-stakes environment in life, acts as a perfect mirror of your internal state, what does your current reality say about the hidden fears you might be unconsciously holding on to?